This is Daf Yom Yerushalmi Bikkurim in the article Oz Bahar Edition on Daf Yud Ches Amud Aleph. Halacha Gimel Yesh B'Tshuma Ma'aser Shegin Bikkurim, which in the Vilna is on Daf Tes Amud Aleph. Same Mishnah Halacha Gimel Yesh B'Tshuma Ubikurim. Meiser, sorry, and this is Mishnah Gimel and Mishnah Dalet. Okay, says the Mishnah Yesh B'Tshuma Ma'aser Sheni here Ma'aser Bikurim. Shachuma and Meiser Sheni Osin Esagorin. They forbid the silo. In other words, you can't eat until these mice have been taken off. The Yeshem Shir, and they have a specific measurement. Chuma Midrabanan, 1/50th, 1/4th, 1/60th, and mice are explicit, 1/10 of whatever's left after Chuma and Meiser Rishon. V'nogim b'chol peros, and they apply to all fruit, not just the Shiva Saminim. B'ifnei abayis shlo ifnei abayis, and they apply whether Beis Hamikdash exists or does not exist. Arisin, they apply to sharecroppers. Arisin, the ones who give a percentage to the owner. Chakiros, the sharecroppers give a specific set amount. Uvasik rikon, and this applies even if somebody stole your field and say, if you don't give me your field or your life. V'gazlan, and this is somebody who steals the field, even if he does, not threatening the life of the person who is stealing. All these are chayv and truma, reila b'truma, uv'meiser, and meiser sheni, and not be bikurim. Sheni can bikurim. None of these is chayv bikurim. Especially the last case of gazlan of Sikrikon, because of it's not their land. But all the various things before we said also is because they're not applied to Bikurim. Conversely, Yesh Bikurim Mashagib Chuma Meiser, certain things should apply to Bikurim should not apply to Chumas and Meisers, which are Shabikurim Niknim B'Mechubel Karka. The Bikurim are they are designated. The nickname literally means they're purchased, but here means they're designated. Mishnah, famous Mishnah later on, being their pack, a person goes to his field and sees a fig which is because for its fruits, he ties a piece of hemp around it, and he says this is bikurim. So it applies even with mechubel karka. But shumas and meises, you can't take off as mechubel karka. What's connected to the ground, you have to sever them in the ground before you take off shumas and meisers. Bikurim, or a person can make an entire field bikurim, but somebody says my entire field is truma, it's nothing, has to leave something over because it says Reshis de Gancha. I should have inflected wrong. Reshis de Gancha. The shoes already according that some has to be some remainder afterwards. It's any by Meiser. V'chai bar Yusan, and it's we learned this in Perak Al Malachates. Hainu chai bar Yusan, you have to replace because until you get to Arba'is, because it says but Truma and Meiser not chai bar Yusan, and if they get lost, you don't have to replace them once you set them aside. And now that the Kohen himself is responsible for bringing the Truma from the silo into the city or whatever other scenario exists. To unin korban, you bring a korban shlom with bikurim. Supposed to be Truma Meiser. Vashir, and there has to use a song which comes along with them. When they bring the korban, the Levim would sing Armil Chashuk Lusani. One is going that down. Utnufa, and they have to be lifted up by the coin. Velina, and they have to remain. So it brings Yerushalayim has to remain overnight in Yerushalayim, not go back the same day. Trumas Meiser is equivalent to Bikurim in two ways and to regular Truma in two ways. Trumas Meiser is, of course, the 1/10 and 1/10, which of his Meiser Rishon Levi takes off and gives to the Kohen. Niteles mina Torah Tmeya B'Shalom min Amukaf. So the truma itself has to be taken from that which is adjacent to the fruit. And also, I made that you should not take from a Torah Latame, because maybe you're going to take Shlomi Namukah, maybe you're going to take some elsewhere, not from the same vessel, the same environs. If you allow a person to take from Torah and Tameh, so he might say, okay, I'll take my truma over here. I'll take my truma over here. Well, it's not no proximity to the rest of the truma, which is no good. But bikurim you can set aside from some trees and other trees, even they're not in the same vicinity, not in the same vessel, really. And you'll have to take bikurim from Tameh and Tor. And Trumas Meiser is like Bikurim, you'll have to separate Shlomi Namukov. The Yerushalmi is of Kom Masro Sechem. Even in Meiser, one Meiser Huda, one Meiser is in Golil. You take Trumas Meiser for one on both of them. And since he tells Shlomi Namukov, it also is Mutzah Lahafrish Mina Torah Latame. Doesn't don't care if it's Tamei Namukov. Okay, so it's again, the tells me Torah Metmea, Shlomi Namukov, Kibikurim. That is Trumas Meiser, as those two aspects which common with Bikurim. But Oises Agoren, you're not to eat from the until the Trumas Meiser is taken off. V'yesh lo shir, and it has a specific measure, Truma, like Truma. That last Oises Agoren is if the Meiser the Levi has a Meiser Rishon, not only eat from the Meiser Rishon until he takes off Trumas Meiser from it. Okay, so that's the so it's a goren, not the overall goren. Once the Levi's meiser to take it off, the overall goren is permitted. The Levi's meiser rishon is not permitted on the Trumas meiser to take it off. That was actually Mishnah Hay. Okay, so now we start the Gemara. Nicha Truma oseres as a goren. Okay, Truma forbids the goren. This is and. We're going since the Mishnah says Osus Agoren. It sounds like even if it's not Ropnei Abayis, and if it's not Ropnei Abayis, you're allowed to snack from it, right? But once you took up the Truma or Ma'aser Sheni, even though it's not in the house, you're not allowed to eat any more snack to take off all the Maisers. Okay, so I understand now it says Truma Asas the Goyren, so you take up the Truma, so then. You can't do it. You have to take off all the rest of the matanos. But ha-meiser is a goren. What is the meiser doing? The meiser has a goren. You already took off the truma and asked for the goren. What's the meiser adding? It's not asking the goren any more than the truma did. Tipata shikdim mushibon. So it says, well, I would talk about a case where you took the meiser sheni from the stalks before you took off truma gedola. So once you set aside, you took off the meiser sheni. It's hukbal meiser, and therefore you can't eat from it snacking until you take off the other matanos. So it's about where you, as we learned, Damar Rabbi Avo, Shem Shem and Lakish Meiser Shekdim Shibolim Potem Mitruma Gedola, the meiser rishon which you took off from truma, which you took off in the stalks, you're exempt from taking off truma gedola. But you still have to take off. You still have to take off the rest of the meisers. So that's true. Also, Yerushalmi Chala says, Perek Aleph, Mishnah Dalet, that if you took off the meiser sheni before taking off truma, so you have to complete the taking off the meiser, but it's exempt from truma gedola, and that's what our mission is coming to tell us. Hazia misspoke. That which it says, the not the entire silo. That what you ever took off from Ma'aser Rishon is part of Truma Gedola, but you're still chayav in Truma Gedola and and Ma'aser Sheni on whatever's left, and the same thing applies according to our Gemara here. You took off Ma'aser Sheni. That Ma'aser Sheni is part of Truma Gedola, but you still have to take off Ma'aser Rishon, and on the rest, and of course the Ma'aser Rishon as well. Okay, so Bikurim said anything mechubah karka. See, Bikurim kol asher be'outsam in the land. So therefore, even it's when it's on, you take it off. Use dancing with on the ground. Also, Adam still kosei Bikurim. Person can make this type of Bikurim. Dechsiv v'reishis kol bikurei kol. As a pasuk in Yecheskel. So reishis kol bikurei kol. We learn from this that all of it can be Bikurim, not just the. Not just the part of it, and you don't share any karim like you need by the other matanos that you need to have a remainder. The chai b'achriyuson, so the chsiv she's b'kriyad mascha, but the raya is from the end of the pasuk, where the pasuk says tavi beis Hashem. It's mashma that you're chai b'achriyus until you actually bring it to the Azara, and that brings us to the top of Yud Tes Amud Aleph. And we'll stop here for today.